Hey, so I'm gonna do a reply video to Late Signal. So this is a very good video, and I want to signal boost his channel. So I'll just add extra context to what he says. So let's get going.
Yeah, we're going to be talking today about false hope popping up all over the internet for low status men, right?
It's false hope for all men, actually, but yeah. But high status men can keep themselves distracted more and have more attention as well to delude themselves. But all men are fucks.
Or just men in general. Now, this kind of it's kind of going to be a sequel to my video about the rage bait one, about being fed rage bait by the algorithm.
So I avoid rage bait at all costs. Like I keep misandry out my feed as much as possible, and I don't rage bait myself by watching disgusting people say misandry shit. I only watch misandry's content for the purposes of doing reply videos to it. If I'm not going to do a reply video to it, I'm not going to watch it at all. So some minor micro celebrity says some bullshit XXX. I'm not rage baiting myself over it. And there's been pro male collective members in the past who've been obsessed with rage bait, right? And I've convinced some of them to stop watching it, thankfully. But yeah, it's a dead end, and it's not good for your mental health to watch it. So you can click the three buttons on a thumbnail and say click not interested, and you can delete most of this stuff out your feed, right?
By the YouTube algorithm. And, it doesn't only feed me rage bait, right? It also feeds me these channels where, there's these AI channels where they have like an AI voice, like with a British accent, or a real deep voice, like real alpha male or sigma male voice, and it's obviously AI, right? And they have a picture like of a of some ancient Greek style picture, right, of some philosopher or something.
That's a red flag, basically, because philosophy is not a precise science. So grifters like to attach themselves to stuff like that, right, for prestige and to look good. So
I don't know, like Socrates. Like, I can't even pronounce his name, but I won't try to butcher
Socrates,
it. But
it's Socrates. Yeah,
that they'll have some statue of a Greek philosopher, right? And they'll have little text saying things like, you know, this is why men are winning in 2026, or this is why men are walking away from society, or this is why men are walking away from dating, right?
yeah. Men are not walking away from dating, right? We all know they're getting pushed out.
And they'll have this little AI voice saying things like, just saying why men are supposedly winning in society when really they're not. Because
Yeah, a lot of claims are like non sequiturs as well that don't even make sense, even by their own standards. Yeah,
men are not winning in society right now. Like, men are scurrying around like rats on a sinking ship. That's what men are like nowadays. And you can see it when you're out and about, like, or just how the average guy acts nowadays. They're not motivated to do anything. They're depressed. They have no status. They have mental health issues. They don't.
so I've noticed when I go to the shopping centre, right, during weekdays, because right, I've noticed it's all women in there, barely any men, right. It's all these bourgeoisie women going shopping, spending money, probably spending money with their husbands that are out working, right. They don't associate with men. They don't. They don't hang around with male friends or male relatives. They hang out with each other. Yeah. So men are deselected.
They don't really have any friends. But these channels that pop up, like with the AI channels, or they'll try and it's like they're trying to pacify these guys and say things like, you're actually winning, like your suffering is actually good for society. Or
So like, men want this cope though. They want emotional gratification that's unearned. That's what appeals to them. I don't even consider it brainwashing. It's like just men are being fed stuff that they're receptive to anyway, and the content makers are just gonna keep on giving them that shit no matter what. Like, and sorry, a lot of men are low IQ and stupid, unfortunately, so they fall for this.
your suffering is showing up society, right? Like, like society if you just keep suffering hard enough, right, society will crumble and it'll bend to your will, right, eventually. But
Yeah, that's actually an old right wing talking point, right? It's like the collapse cycle, right? It's delusional. That's not how civilizations of society works. There's never really been a collapse cycle. Like even World War Two wasn't really a collapse, right? Like the Soviet Union lost like 28 million people, and it damaged them, but they still recovered and grew afterwards, and so did the rest of the world. Even Germany recovered. There's no collapse cycle. It's delusional.
these channels that are spreading these messages, like they're full of crap because, like I said, men are not winning. Men are suffering really bad, and whoever is pushing these channels, and the algorithm is definitely pushing them, right? So
So algorithm pushes rage bait and cope, and it pushes toxic male issue channels as well, like whatever podcast, right? It pushes uses brain rot that makes men look bad, so that they're controlled opposition, useful idiots. In other words, yeah, like you'll get some strongman Tradcon posturing about the Force Doctrine, and he's the head of the household. He's alpha. He's leading his women, and they got to submit to him. And it just gives feminists a pretext to point at him and go, "Look, misogynists. They're a danger to women. So they're useful idiots."
they get hundreds of thousands of views, right? And a lot of subscribers. So there's some company or maybe there's some AI company pushing them to
But the YouTube algorithm pushes it as well, so they get to decide what's deemed popular. So it's an artificial consensus. So stuff that YouTube doesn't like gets nerfed, and stuff they like gets promoted. It's very insidious, and it actually should be against the law. It's market manipulation. The algorithm should boost what it boosts and what is popular, right? Period.
brainwash men into thinking this way. But either way, they're being pushed, and it's meant to pacify men, like you know, like keep them grinding away for a society that doesn't care about them, and they'll never get friends, they'll never get a relationship, they'll never get a house, they'll never get a good quality of life. So these AI channels start with the British accent saying things like, you're actually winning, you're walking away from, you, you know, you are walking away from society, something like that. They're pacifying these guys, right? They're saying keep grinding away in the false hope that eventually you will get what you want out of your life, right? Because for men nowadays, society is completely broken for men nowadays. Like men work away, grind away, and they don't get anything for it. Like they're just pointlessly grinding away, and these
But
channels
the problem is there are some men who get something from it. If enough men get something from it, it's going to give the other men false hope. Even if like 10% of men get something from it, from grinding away, the rest of the 90% are going to carry on grinding away. That's the problem. Instead of like, fixing the system, which men are not able to do right now due to their false consciousness, they don't have a political ideology. Men need a pro-male political ideology just for this reason.
popping up there.
Like, there's a reason why there was like house slaves in the South because there's like a prestigious position that as a reward. Even if it was like a small minority, as long as some were rewarded, it gave the others some false hope they could end up in the same position and lord it up over the other slaves. That's what men are like, unfortunately.
Trying to pacify them and say, eventually you'll get what you deserve. You being like passive and all this and working away, grinding and not talking to women or not doing anything like that. They're saying that's gonna crumble society, right? But really, society isn't gonna crumble. Like women are living their best lives now, and men are not winning. And there's these other channels like that are like
So a lot of women are sadists, feminists are sadists, and women are naturally exclusionary in general. That's how status works. That's how hierarchy works. There's no point being part of the in group if you don't get to gatekeep and exclude. This is a female instinct. That's actually outside of feminism. It's a human instinct, but I think it's stronger than females. So the fact that there's men who are excluded, low status, and they're suffering, right, begging for female attention and living miserable lives, that is women living their best lives from their point of view. That is actually good in of itself from their point of view. It's hard for men to understand this because they project their own mindset onto women. But this is how women think.
You know, these kind of channels where they say things like, you know, these women are complaining about guys on dating apps, or they're complaining about guys on TikTok saying things like, you know, there's no good men out there. Men are not approaching women. Like, you have these channels that say, you know, that because these women are saying this stuff on TikTok, that means men are winning, right? But how can men be winning when, you know, there's stuff like they're getting pushed out of society, they're getting pushed out of jobs. There's a male only draft, which there could be a war coming soon, World War III coming soon, and men are going to be forced into that.
It's going to be it's structural androcide, basically. So this is due to the fault of NATO, and it's a pointless encirclement of Russia, which is not in the West, in Europe's interest. Yeah, men are going to die because of this. This is structural violence, and it's completely irrational, right? So therefore, it's done out of sadism.
And but because some women are complaining on TikTok, that means men are winning. Like, you see, this is what I'm talking about. All these false hope channels that are popping up, designed to pacify men, right, and just keep them grinding away. Like, you know, I'll watch this video and I'll delude myself into thinking that men are actually okay, right? I'll delude myself into thinking we're winning and women are losing, right? And that society is course correcting itself. So men watch that and they get a little dopamine hit from that, a temporary dopamine hit, and then they go back to their miserable life just grinding away and nothing gets done, right? So, and, you know, it's the same with these anti woke gamer channels. Like the quartering, or or even these anime channels like Rev Says Desu or Hero Hey. Like, they'll say things like, this anime has been ruined by feminists, or this anime is being catered towards Western standards, right?
So I remember the narrative a few years back was, oh yeah, Japan will never bow to the West, right? So men should have dealt with the feminist infiltration of anime in the West, the dubbing companies, because like men should not have to download fan translations, fan translations, or the Japanese will never bow to the woke, right? And but that's reactive, passive, cowardly behaviour. It's like, no, out of convenience, I should be able to go to Funimation and get translations and subs about feminist politics interjected in, right? Okay, right. So men should have fought for that right, and they didn't, and they just coped with, I'll just I'll just get a fan translation. I'll just pirate it. Yeah, that'll show them, and they go. And the anime companies have admitted they actually changed their content to appeal to the West now. Yeah, and actually, Japanese translation companies have actually been hiring white women, Western feminists to come over as well. That was happening as well. So this is what happens when you get delusional cope. It encourages passive behaviour. It's emotional gratification that's unearned. You don't deserve to feel good if you're a passive lay down and you're getting the shit kicked out of you by feminists.
But the thing is, they get the framing completely wrong on that, right? They will see, like, feminists destroy the anime medium, right? And they'll say, like, they'll laugh at it, saying, "Oh, hey, look at these feminists. They thought they could insert their messaging into anime, and guys would be okay with that, right? Look at the anime industry failing because of this, like." And they're so stupid, like, they don't understand that this is being done deliberately, right? So, if the feminist comes into anime and inserts their messages into it, and the anime industry fails, like, no one watches anime anymore because of it.
So let's give Star Wars as a good example, right? So Star Wars is absolutely brutalized and ruined and scorched. So you've got the original trilogy, which is always going to be a classic, right? You had the prequels, which were complete trash, but that wasn't due to politics. And then you had like the feminist sequel trilogy, right? What was absolute garbage, but it also had feminist propaganda and messaging. It had like Luke as a bitter, dried up old loser, and Han as a loser as well with character regression. He was murdered. Yeah, okay. And it had a girl boss in it. Okay, so it character assassinated the original characters. Yeah, and this was done deliberately on purpose because there's a repeated pattern of like male power fantasy gets shit on and ruined, and girl bosses get interjected, and it's a repeated failure. It burns profits to the ground over and over and over again, right? And Rey should not have been a female character at all because it's the hero's journey, right? Female characters in Star Wars should be princesses, and they can be ball busting princesses like Princess Leia, not even ball busting, but strong, legitimately strong women who like their men. Leia liked Han, Leia liked Luke, right? She's supportive of them, right? But these gold bosses get interjected and they're a proven failure over and over again. And it's done on purpose, like you say, it's done on purpose. They know it's going to fail and it knows it's going to destroy the franchise. And Star Wars is absolutely ruined and there's no saving it. It's complete shit. The fandom's dead, right? And the feminists have won. This is the end goal. So you're right.
Channels will cope and say, "Ha ha, ha, look at this. The feminists failed." Like, but they succeeded. They did not fail. They succeeded in destroying like something that men enjoy, right? See, men like watching anime, right? And they succeeded in destroying it. So, and all you can do is laugh at it. Like, how can you just cope and like? You can't if something you like is being destroyed, you don't laugh at it, right? You don't celebrate its downfall. But that's what these cope channels are doing. Like they're again, it's a way of this is why I think they must be controlled opposition or they're being pushed by the powers that be, right?
They're definitely not suppressed by the algorithm, right? They're even promoted because they're not a threat to the system. Channels that go, look, feminists have taken over. There's a whisper network in all these industries run by feminists. We need to get them out. They're committed. They're breaking the law. We need to get rid of them. We need to push the government to prosecute them. Those channels will not get promoted. They'll even get banned. Yeah, but the right wing cope channels, because they're all right wing mostly. Right wing men are stupid. They've got false consciousness. All these right wing cope channels are the ones getting promoted. So, they,
They want to pacify men that watch anime, right? Or and say, look, these feminists are being kicked out of anime, or they're this anime failed because the feminists push their messaging, right? But why would you want men to be laughing at something that they like getting destroyed? Like, where's the logic in that? Like, that's why all these anti woke channels are just pathetic. Like, and it's the same with the games industry, right? Like, that thing with Ghost of Tsushima and Sucker Punch. Like Sucker Punch was a good studio, right? They made Sly Raccoon or Sly Cooper, and they made Infamous, and they made Ghost of Tsushima, right, the first game. But you had all these guys when the sequel came out. I forget what it was called, but it was a sequel to Ghost of Tsushima, and you had all these anti woke gamer channels, right? They were saying like because it was replaced with a female protagonist and she looked very manly and all this. They were saying like, you know, look, this game is gonna fail. Ha ha ha. No one's gonna buy this, and I think it ended up flopping because I heard that it did flop. But these guys were again they were laughing at it saying, haha, this they had to fire a bunch of people or they got a bunch of layoffs at the studio or the game didn't sell well. But what they failed to realise is this is a deliberate thing, right? The feminists want the game to fail. They want the games industry to collapse. this is what their goal is, right? So if you're laughing at a game or a franchise you love failing, like why would you laugh at that? That's you should be insulted by that. Like if something you love is being deliberately destroyed, that you don't laugh at it and cope and say, "Look at these feminists. They they re- they changed the game to suit the modern audience, and no one's buying it. And the studio's getting shut down." That that's just pathetic. Like all these anti woke guys they don't have they're very low IQ. They don't have two brain cells in their head because they don't understand their own psychology or even what they're talking about. Like
They don't think about things on a systematic macro level. They're just like a event of the week type people, right? They just focus on the latest outrage, and they don't have pattern recognition. Yeah, feminists got pattern recognition. They're coordinated. They're actually politically a lot smarter than the average male. Feminism is actually the most successful political movement to ever exist, bar none.
they think watching their own hobby get destroyed is a good thing, right? They think it's just something to laugh at. You know, "Oh, this game failed. Let's move on to the next game and watch that fail." And but your hobby getting destroyed is completely evil. It's not something to laugh at. These guys instead of filling other gamers with false hope, saying, "Hey, look, one day games are going to go back to the way they were before. There's not going to be all this modern day feminist crap," right? Instead of coping and saying like, these studios like Sucker Punch or that are failing because they're putting out products that don't sell, right? Instead of saying you hope that studio fails, you should be saying, we have to kick the feminists out of the studio, right? We can't just allow the studio to fail.
So South Koreans have done this against feminists in companies, right? So we need to do the same, like zero feminism. There has to be absolute zero tolerance. Ban feminism before it bans you.
Because that's throwing the baby out with the bathwater, right? Like you don't say that, you hope a studio fails, because if it fails, then that's going to lead to another studio failing and another developer failing, and the cards go like a little domino effect, right? And this is what the feminists want. They want you to be laughing at these studios failing, right? That's their goal. Their goal is not to change the games into feminist. Their goal is to destroy the games industry, right?
So I think you're not 100% accurate here. You're mostly correct. I think they don't want to destroy it completely. They want to ruin it for men and leave it a husk, but they still want to control it so they can pump out feminist narrative and feminist message. Like, right? So I think the primary goal is to like promote their message, and the secondary goal is to like burn it to ground and destroy it if they don't get their way completely. So it's both at the same time. It's a dual strategy. So I think there's no need to like watch the rest of this video. You get the gist. This is very good framing of the issue. This is correct framing of the issue, and we need more of this from men. So this guy is one of us, right? One of us. One of us. He's helping promote the promo ideology. He has a correct framing on issues. Okay, so please sub to Late Signals channel. I'm gonna post a link in the description. You can sub to it. Okay, and we need to propagate our ideas. We need an ideology, and we need intellectuals on YouTube and on blogs to help promote our ideas and correct the false consciousness that men have. Because unless we get a correct consciousness, we're just going to be ruled over, but forever and ever and ever. So yeah, over and out.